Hello, this is Steven and welcome to another video. Today we are reading chapter 21 of Hermitcraft Mayhem, which is a Minecraft-inspired story that's fanfiction where I put Minecraft YouTubers that I watch and enjoy into a Minecraft universe and see how it goes, kind of like D&D. And yeah, in this case, it's Hermitcraft. Yeah, you can tell from the title of the video that we're diving into Impulse's perspective shortly after his, spoiler alert, abduction. So, yeah, you're about to see some pretty big reveals this episode. So stay tuned for that, and we'll get right into the video, shall we? The cell was small compared to the rest of the room. Enough to hold a cot, a table, and chair. There were no windows on the side, but windows Impulse could see were either curtained or had tinted windows. It didn't help that it was also pitch black outside. Impulse let out a sigh, kicking his legs back and forth, listening to the clattering of the chain that was strapped to his ankle, the beeping of a control panel, and the ever-present hum of the headband hugging his forehead. The room was empty, no guard stationed by his cell, but that didn't mean someone wasn't guarding the door that led into the room. There hadn't been any sign of human life since Rob had dropped him had dragged him in here. How long had that been? A few hours at least. Impulse shook his head. What did Conover want with him anyway? Was Green okay? Scar? Impulse groaned, getting to his feet. He needed to do something other than asking questions he couldn't answer right now. He had to find out what he could do at this current moment, then worry about the other things later. Conover would get here eventually, and he'd find out well enough. Soon enough, anyway. He crossed the small cell, reaching the iron bars that separated him from the other room. It was well lit, with frog lights covered by iron trapdoors, white walls, dark oak hardwood floors. At the other end of the room stood a machine. Two cylinders rose up from the floor, connected by a tube. In front of the machine was a single button sitting on a smooth stone block. There was no restraints inside the glass cylinder. The only entrance was an iron door on the side, facing him, with buttons above them. What sort of machine was this, and what did Conover have in mind for it? He stared at the machine for what felt like forever. When the door of the room opened, 3 men walked in. Conover took the lead, wearing a dark blue suit. He wore a crimson tie and a gold watch on his left wrist. His eyes grew wide as he recognized the other 2 men. It's good to see you again, Conover said. He gave Impulse a curt nod. His eyes betrayed nothing. How is this possible? Impulse stammered, his gaze not leaving the other 2 men. The second man, tall and lean, wore a lab coat, his dark hair almost reaching his shoulders. He went over to the control panel next to the new machine, passing the button on a single block. The third man walked over to stand with Conover near Impulse's cell, a familiar smile on his face. The man wore a crimson and blue camo suit, paired with a purple tie. Did you think Conover would let Rose simply keep me locked up? The other man raised an eyebrow as Conover chuckled. We were told no one would be able to find you, Impulse insisted. The cause isn't as reliable as you think it is, Conover shook his head. Campbell here was arrested unjustly. He was arrested for kidnapping one of my friends and trying to use him as a scapegoat so he could take what didn't belong to him. Campbell smiled. My only aim was to finish what was started. By destroying everyone's free will to think for themselves? Impulse snapped. That definitely doesn't ring true today. Conover narrowed his eyes. I don't know what that cat has been telling you. He told me enough to know that twisting that crystal would destroy everything you've ever known. Campbell snorted. You don't know the half of it. He's just saying that so he can control what other people think. Wouldn't it be better if we didn't need a rock to tell us how to live? Paul shook his head. We both have questions. We're curious about things. How the world works. Why it works. Have you ever wondered where that came from? No, Campbell said bluntly. We aren't here for a stupid rock. Piece of rock, Conover snapped his finger. Richard, is it ready? Almost. Richard jargoned, looked over his shoulder. They both shuddered. How was the man still alive if his friends had seen him die? Yet here he was, alive, still plotting, acting as if nothing happened. Just needed to tweak some things, and then the sample. I have it here, Conover stated, patting one of his pockets. Richard nodded before returning to his work. How is he alive? Impulse blurted. Campbell laughed. Wouldn't you like to know? I would, Impulse said defiantly. You'll see soon enough, Campbell sneered at him, approaching the bars. It's been a while, hasn't it? What do you want? Impulse narrowed his eyes. Conover was walking away, heading toward Richard. Impulse followed the man, his movements until he disappeared behind Campbell. What makes you think I want something? You hate Richard, Impulse pointed out. You've told me yourself that he deserves to be locked up alongside his brother, yet you're looking for him? Campbell shrugged. Who says I work for anyone? Impulse looked him up and down. Why are you here then? You'll see. Campbell's smirk was infuriating. Why did he have to look so sure of himself? You can't get away with this, Impulse replied. My friends will find me, and when I tell them what you're doing, you think you will. Campbell crossed his arms. Perhaps we have already thought about ways to stop you from doing that. What, by killing me? Impulse demanded. Campbell smiled. Oh, there are worse ways. A chill ran down Impulse's spine. What were these men planning to do? We're ready, Conover announced. Campbell nodded, turning away from Impulse before joining Conover by the blood. This will work, right? Campbell pressed. Conover nodded, gesturing to Richard's direction. The evidence is right there. We don't know the lasting effects. Do you want him back or not? Conover challenged, narrowing his eyes. You're already wasting enough of my time as it is with this request. But we've never tried with a strand of hair before. Conover sighed. A deal is a deal. You get what you want, and I get what I want. Campbell nodded, lowering his head. Impulse frowned. Why was Campbell so submissive to Conover all of a sudden? The times Impulse interacted with Campbell, he was strong, taking control of everything, so calm and confident, manipulating the truth to get what he wanted. Nothing ever stood in his way. What was happening here? What was he missing? Here goes nothing, Richard said, breaking the silence as Carver pressed the button before him. Something small poked into the first cylinder, encased in a glass vial, a strand of hair, dark hair, like Campbell's. The machine came to life as a light filled the tube, going from the first tube to the second. Stardust poured through the second tube as it filled with light before it began to shrink. Campbell gasped as the light took the form of a child in his early teens, 13 or 14. Impulse squinted, just making out the tattered gray of a t-shirt and ripped jeans. The light faded, leaving a boy inside the cylinder. Campbell stood frozen for a long moment, staring at the boy inside. The boy looked like a younger version of Campbell, apart from his eyes, blue like a lake reflecting a cloudy sky. Frank? Franklin? Is that really you? Campbell took a step toward the boy. Confusion filled the boy's eyes as he took in his surroundings. The boy's body was shaking ever so slightly. Campbell arrived at the door, opening it. Come in now, son. Frank blinked at the open door and then back at Campbell. Do I know you? Frank, it's me. Don't you remember? Campbell reached out, pulling the boy into a hug. I was looking everywhere for you. The boy tensed, his eyes straying over to where Impulse was imprisoned. You're not going to put me in there, too? Campbell shook his head, stroking Franklin's dark hair. No, of course not. That one deserves to be in there. What did he do? Frank asked, pulling himself away, staring at the people in the room, as if they were strangers. That doesn't matter now, Campbell said softly, wiping tears from his eyes. The boy furrowed his brow. Are you crying? I've missed you, that's all. Campbell wrapped an arm around the boy's shoulders. You must be hungry. Let's find something to eat. Then we can talk. More confusion etched on Frank's face as his father urged him toward the door. Once the man and boy were out of sight, Conover shook his head. Seems the boy has some amnesia. Give him time, Richard urged. It took my clone a few days before the memories surfaced. What? Impulse's jaw dropped. Did Richard just say what he thought he did? Dread trickled through the cracks of his defiance as he looked at the door, to Richard, then to the machine. Was this the machine that Stampy and the James brothers were worried about? The one within the blueprint Stampy had found? Does that mean... Did you think I'd be stupid enough to leave myself vulnerable like that? Richard raised a brow, interrupting Impulse's train of thought. That I would leave it up to chance. No. I knew what Rob was planning to do. I knew your friends would come running when they realized that the girl was gone. Unlike my brother, I don't underestimate the capabilities of children. Impulse swallowed. How long? Richard snorted as Conover cleared his throat. I was checking in on one of the prisons when I came across Campbell in a cell. He told me he knew of a way to essentially bring back the dead, without the cost of someone else, like Dr. Rhinestone's experiments. He was given the blueprints shortly before his imprisonment. Theodore struck a deal with me, then, that if I helped him get Franklin back, I could do whatever I wanted with this. He gestured to the machine in front of him. The clone machine. Impulse gulped. What are you going to do? Impulse asked quietly. You haven't noticed the influx of men? Richard mused. Why so many of them wear masks? Like the assassins we typically send to those we wish to do away with. You're building an army. That's part of it. Richard leaned casually against the control panel. But I had something else in mind. It's ready? Connor asked warily. The sample has been inserted. Richard nodded. We're ready. Ready for what? Impulse demanded, crossing his arms, narrowing his eyes at the two men suspiciously. He'll say. Richard chuckled. Conover pressed the button again as the machine sprung to life. A vial of thick red liquid was inserted into the machine before light exploded in the room. Impulse looked away, closing his eyes as heat washed over him. After a few moments, the light began to dim. Impulse opened his eyes and froze, staring straight in the machine. Standing inside was a tall, muscular man wearing a black cloak. There was no scar lining his face, but the man was still just as recognizable. Conover went to open the door at the man inside, smiled at the hermit. Well, isn't this interesting? The man said smoothly, stepping out of the machine. He held his head high, his stormy gray eyes full of hunger and triumph. Didn't I say I would find a way? No, Impulse whispered, taking a step back. Dark, heavy dread crashed over him. He was back. Gerald was back. From the dead. Gerald smiled, turning to the other two men. I appreciate the effort you put in to help me in my mission. I'm afraid I'm going to need you two to step out for a bit. I need a minute with our prisoner. Alone. As you wish, Richard nodded, giving the hermit a coy smirk before walking out the door. Connor hesitated for a moment before he left the room. Impulse took another step back, his legs pressed against the cot in his tiny cell. What was Gerald planning to do to him? Gerald crossed the room until he stood in front of him. Bars were the only thing separating Impulse from this man. So what are we going to do with you? Gerald tilted his head, looking him over. He smiled a moment later. I know. I'm going to keep you here for a good long while. Scared I'll tell the others? Gerald snorted. I doubt they'd believe you. They know Conover has the clone machine. Impulse narrowed his eyes. It's not hard to figure out. You give them too much credit, Gerald chuckled. They don't know for sure that we are using it. Only that we had the blueprints. You'll find a way to tell them, Impulse said confidently. Not unless you value your friends. You can't attack them without outing yourself. I won't need to, Gerald shrugged, wrapping his fingers around the iron bars of Impulse's cell. I have plenty of assassins at my disposal, Impulse swallowed. They won't be alone. You can't protect them forever. I don't need you to tell me what I can or can't do. Do you want to test that, Impulse? Gerald warned. One word, and the world will see what kind of friend you are. My friends will listen to you. Gerald smirked. You won't have any when I'm done. Another shudder ran down Impulse's spine. Even though Impulse knew his friends were strong, determined to make things right, he couldn't hold back the trigger of fear and dread threatening to consume him. Impulse stared at the man, giving him nothing more. What was the point? Gerald didn't need to threaten him any more than he needed to go after his friends. Scar was right. Gerald was nothing more than a broken man seeking something he could never obtain. Yet, there was nothing stopping him now from attacking the very people Impulse cared about. Perhaps that was the scariest part of all. Gerald was here, in the flesh, and there was nothing he could do to prevent him from hurting innocent people. Impulse turned away, tears burning in his eyes. He heard Gerald's footsteps fade away. He didn't care, Gerald saw. He wasn't going to give up, no matter how much it would hurt, even if it cost him everything. And that is where we're going to end that chapter. I hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I'll see you guys in chapter 23. Guess I'll tease you for the next one. The next perspective is Gemini. Going back to the dream world, everybody. And we'll see if Impulse actually gets to tell them what happened. What he's seen and experienced before Gerald decides to make things a little bit more chaotic for him, let's just say.